Are you ready to go?
Everything's recording, yeah.
This is gonna
Oh
be
wow,
very,
yeah.
very...
We might as well leave that in as part of the intro.
What?
Oh,
Van,
have
the
I pressed
rapping
it? Is
baby.
it- So it's already working now. Oh, look at that.
Imagine my mic wasn't working last episode, so they're gonna hear me today.
Yeah.
They're gonna hear you.
They're gonna
today.
hear Mary
Femi,
today.
can you hear me? Oh, you only hearing yourself, or do you hear us?
No, I hear
Actually,
her.
you must hear all of us.
Yeah.
It's my...
What kind of...
Sorry.
I just freestyle. I just
Leave that in, by the way. Leave that in. Leave that in.
I get it.
You can only hear yourself.
Silly question.
I hear what you're saying in the spirit.
Wow,
But
Femi's
anyway,
back on the
it's my
board.
voice. Oh yeah, on that note,
Yeah, man.
Welcome back,
Femi, where you
Fems.
been?
Back out here.
Long
man.
annual leave.
In
Where you
it.
been?
In it.
People thought you lost the pod.
People,
You wouldn't be
people
the
like
first.
other people had like other people requested me in it, so I had to give my services. I had to
other
like,
people.
yeah, I had to like spread my services out basically.
So,
So,
what
Is
you
there
been-
anything you'd like to share with the
Yeah.
class?
huh?
Is there anything you'd like
Is there
to share
anything
with
I'd
the
like to
class?
share? Well, there's a new arrival.
Yep.
Tell us about
Yeah,
it.
man.
Who came from abroad?
Oh, bro, this is a bar.
My
Hold
daughter.
on now.
My daughter
Oh,
Yo, what?
came. My daughter.
Yo,
Hey, one
what?
more time.
My daughter. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So what? April 18th?
Girl dad.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So
girl dad.
innit,
You guys
innit.
are so corny.
I'm a dad. I don't even say girl dad. I'm a dad today. But yeah, man. Yeah, had a baby.
Hey.
Yeah, man.
You actually
yeah.
had a baby.
I actually had a baby. Yeah, man.
How-
Well, not me, but yeah.
By
Yeah.
union, your wife.
my union.
Shout out your wife.
Shout out her.
Shout out Dummy.
Yeah, shout out Dummy.
But no, how's it all been?
It's been good. It's been good, man. It's been tough. It's been an adjustment. It's a life change. But yeah, man, it's been good. I can't complain. It's a blessing. She's growing. She's
Get his
changing.
teeth all out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Hey, she looks just like him as well.
Yeah, that's what the streets are saying.
Yeah.
The streets are saying that she looks like me.
pictures are very cute.
But yeah, man, just adjusting. Got the biggest adjustment from tomorrow because my mother-in-law is leaving to go back to Nigeria tomorrow, and she's been with us. She's been with us since like 4 weeks before she was born till now.
Before,
Yeah,
fantastic.
till now. So like a good 3 months. Yeah. So that's gonna be a massive adjustment because then it's just me and my wife and baby. So that's gonna be interesting. But it's been
As
good.
of when? When is that?
Tomorrow, she's
Oh,
going.
wow.
She's going tomorrow morning. Yeah, man. So.
That's why I said, oh, come on, this is my last time on the pod.
Oh, but yeah, to
Yeah,
be honest, it's
content.
even good. Like, the time is even good because it might even be harder to get time to record and stuff like that. But yeah, man. No, you thank God, man. Yeah, it's been good.
Congratulations.
Hey,
Can't
come
complain. Baby's healthy. She's growing. Yeah, man. It's all good.
How
MJ.
was the birth? How was the birth story?
Yay.
Did you shed tears or anything like that?
I didn't shed tears, but it was definitely tough. That's the best way I can say it. It wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy week. It wasn't an easy week. That's the best way I can describe it. It wasn't an easy week, but thank God, man. God got us through. Baby's healthy. Mum's healthy. Mum's pretty much
Miracle every
mum's
time.
recovered. Yeah. So thank God, man. Yeah.
Praise
we here.
God,
We out here. We
Yeah,
out here.
out here, man.
Love
Shout out
You
all
call
the
me-
BB babies.
You can call me Daddy Fems now, or you don't have to call me Femi Essex
Baby.
anymore. Can I change-
Uncle Fems is quite sufficient to be fair.
Yeah, Uncle Fems is fine. I'm just saying you don't have to call me Femi Essex anymore.
Oh, no one was calling you Femi Essex.
People will definitely call me Femi Essex.
Nah, I think it was
I
just
thought
you.
you called yourself. Femi.
Yeah.
Well, obviously I bought the name, but then people
But
were
other
actually
people
saying
use
Femi Essex.
I'm crying. Who was calling you?
Don't take my name away.
Baby.
don't take my identity. That's how I identify.
Someone said, you know, you said baby baby. Someone, I didn't get the joke they were making, but they said they called me a Blackberry, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then they were like, you know, when people just like take time to work it, and I had no idea what they're talking about, but
What?
that's what they call us because we're on Black Berea.
Oh,
Call us
Blackberry.
blackberries.
Blackberry.
Is that the
Oh.
what? I've never heard that in my life.
No, not
That's
by
interesting.
they. I'm talking about this one person. Please, all.
She's saying like the fans.
It's a Blackberry, and I was like,
Blackberries.
The Blackberries.
The fans.
That's the fans, isn't it?
Oh.
The Blackberries.
we
That's
call,
so
we,
cool.
the fans should be called Blackberry.
Yeah, the fans should be called Blackberries. Guys, Zoe's calling anyone that
No,
listens to the
sorry,
pod
that's
a
what I
Blackberries.
meant.
That's
I meant to
crazy.
say it would have been a good idea.
Oh, okay, cool.
I mean, Bereans would have been
Save
fine.
yourself.
Yeah, no,
Bereans
shout out
could have
the
been fine, to be
Black-
fair. But
Shout out
berries.
Blackberries.
Black Berea.
Blackberries. Sorry.
Hey, Blackberries, get in the comments.
What do you,
I'm crying.
Saints and Aints. Who's,
Jackie.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jack Hill and
well,
Preston.
people always have names for like. I find that so.
Oh, you
I
call it
love
Berea Nights.
Berea Nights.
Berea Nights.
Berea.
I like berries.
Berea
man.
Nights is
Oh,
killing
Berea
me.
Nights.
I like
Berea
berries,
nights.
man.
I like Black.
Berry's nice. Or if
Shout
anyone else has a
But
different name,
also
stick
feel
in the
like
show
someone
notes.
calling me a name, I'll just be like, whoa.
Relax.
Yeah, it's
Chill.
giving like, yeah, like I don't know.
Oh, Zoe, Louis, how are you guys?
Oh,
bro?
I'm alright, man. Can't complain.
You feeling better?
Me and Zoe found, I'm feeling much better now. Me and Zoe found out we live 10 minutes apart. So
Seriously?
we've been coming here
Just
like,
traveling for no reason.
for no reason. We've been traveling separately. So now,
Got a lift.
Zoe's got a ride now.
Look at you. Look at you. Now look at you
Enjoying.
moving up in the world. See how God has extended your
Yeah.
course?
Moving up through the world through someone. I need to
someone
learn
else.
how to drive.
Yeah,
That's the
instruments.
real issue at hand. But
One day.
anyway, I
Take your
appreciate
time.
it.
You're
Thank you.
a soft girl. You're a
Taking
princess.
a lot of time.
How you
Thank you.
been, Zoe?
10 years. I'm okay. I've been busy this weekend. I had to move things around because just had to move stuff around, but it's been very productive. Yeah. What about you?
I've been good. Really busy.
You did your hair. What are you busy doing?
Just stressed, innit? There's a lot of stuff going
What you're
on.
busy doing? She said stress. You're crazy. No,
I had a lot of like engagements over this weekend, so just back to back. But no. How was church yesterday?
It was good. It was
Church was good.
We had.
You didn't go to church yesterday, Femi? Me too, don't worry. I
Said
was at
let's
church.
Where were you? We just did your hair.
No, I went to a wedding. I did my hair
Okay.
on Thursday.
Right.
Imagine missing church for do your hair.
That's crazy.
Imagine
Have I
missing
ever
church
done
for a
that
wedding.
before?
No, I'm joking. No, I'm joking.
How do you, that's a whole different topic, but how do you feel about church attendance in that sense? Like, what is not? Because, I saw a clip of, I think it was a sports podcast, but they're Christians, Americans, and they were like, oh, how do you feel about like, were they Americans or UK? I can't remember. But they were talking about, like letting your kids miss church to play a football match or something like that. Like, how do, like, what's that? Because I remember growing up, not so much me, but my brother was playing basketball, and a lot of the games fell on church days or Saturdays at the time.
Yeah.
But, and that was a big conflict. I remember the coach or one of the assistant coaches came to our house, and he's a Christian, and he came and literally pleaded. I remember like it's yesterday, pleading with my dad, like, let my brother play, like, I'm a Christian as well, blah, blah, blah. Like, we get it, but like, we really want him to play and he wants to play. So how do you guys think about that? That's a completely different topic, but like, briefly, like.
Femi's back, man. Just dropping random.
Yeah, this is what we need.
So I'm gonna come back after 6 weeks. Black.
Hasn't even been 6 weeks. You guys have even been
After
It's
4
been 12
episodes.
months.
After
Oh, it
like,
actually has been 6 weeks because my daughter's like
Yeah.
almost 6 weeks old.
Yeah.
She's almost 6 weeks old.
You
Yeah,
missed
so
like
it
9
has been 6
episodes.
weeks. Yeah, 9 episodes.
but
Yeah,
no,
jeez.
Zoe, what do you think?
You're attacked.
Lee, what do you think?
What was the last minuscule reason you missed church for? Like,
Minuscule
I mean, that's
reason.
There's
yeah.
been so many.
I think for me it's different because I live a bit further away from my local church. I call it local. It's not even my local church. but
Yeah,
it's
I
my
was just
church.
saying, which local?
Sorry, that's what I'm saying. But I could, for example, my wife and I could say, listen, who's got the car today? Someone's got to go do something. Okay, might have to sacrifice church. Or obviously public transport's there. But what I'll say to your question is, I think it's good to set the pattern of Sunday being a church thing early on so that kids know as they're getting older that our lives and our day-to-day has to fit around church. But then the only thing is, if you got games on a Sunday morning, I don't know, you probably can't play in it.
Really? So what if your son was like at Chelsea or like West Ham
That's tough.
and you had a game? You're saying, oh, you can't
That's tough.
you can't go
That's
to the
a tough
game.
one. It's
How
a
old
tough
is
one.
Doesn't matter. He's playing for West Ham.
No, I think at a certain age, you can probably gauge, is this guy going to make it?
So it's based on whether he's gonna make it or not. Not like, what if he just loves football?
No.
What if he
So
just
for
loves
me,
football?
because the priority is church on a
Right,
Sunday.
okay.
Yeah.
I
Priority
think
is church. I
set
think
that motion like early.
early.
Interesting,
But of course, there's certain things. I mean, church is not a whole day. So after service finishes, if there's a kickoff at 2 p.m., maybe, or if it's early morning, maybe they can make, arrangements for it. But if it starts to become
Just
something
evening
that's,
church though.
yeah, then go evening.
It's true,
yeah.
yeah, they go evening. But one thing is, let's say you do all this and then by 16, he's like, I don't feel like playing ball.
Are you
no more.
great? No.
And he's missed church.
Yeah, but then church is not going anywhere.
I'm just telling you, if I already feel like I want to be a football mum as well. By the time you're like 9 or 10, I already know. I
you're
can
gonna
already
make
see
it.
your destiny already.
Yeah,
If you're not good, let's scrap all of that. We'll do football on Saturday. Saturday, Friday, Thursday. If I already can tell, like you're not even left footed. We're going to church.
You have
We
to
are
be left
going to
footed.
church.
left-footed,
You can't do 10 kick-ups.
I
No,
disagree
listen.
though. I think so I agree with the idea that I think the foundation should be like going to church on Sunday. You build around that, but I do think there's exceptions. I think there are exceptions. Like there are exceptions. So like if it is like again, I would say if it's elite level and this is like part of. I wouldn't just say just because they love it, because they really love it, they should miss church. No, but I think if there's like a clear pathway, then I would make exceptions. And there's workarounds around it. You can do like evening church and how many people play every single week? There's a summer where there's seasons are off and stuff like that. You can spend a bit more time.
No, but I think your question was more geared to sacrificing one for the other rather than,
But there is a bit of but if you miss, if you're in a season, it is like you might get one weekend where you're not playing a match, but it's a sacrifice, right? Like you miss, if you're playing every other weekend, that's half of the year that you're missing of church, isn't it? So it might not be one or the other specifically, but it's still a big sacrifice, right? Like especially formative years, when you're really trying to bring your child up in church. But I don't know, it's a hard one. I watch a family on YouTube called the Grimwades. Shout out to Grimwades. and all of their kids play. They all play for Chelsea right now, actually. And yeah, and I know they're Christian, and I know they've definitely made I could just see through their content that they've made a sacrifice in terms of church. Like, I don't think they attend church every Sunday. That's because of the commitments that they have. It makes it, and they got 7 kids. It's difficult. But,
Wow.
so it's just an interesting question. Sorry, I know that's not what we're supposed to be speaking about.
No, I think it's an interesting conversation nonetheless. I'm trying to think of a minuscule reason.
Doing your hair.
I think COVID. I've never done my hair on a Sunday, to be fair. I'm trying to think. I think COVID would have been like, you know, let me be careful. So during lockdown, and I think it's even different for me because I had to be in church for like media reasons. But like I could imagine, like, you know, when people were coming back to church and then you could still stay at home, and I'm sure people were just let me put that YouTube on, man. Like,
not me, bro. I can't stand YouTube church. That's a personal thing, bro.
I'm pretty sure I've missed church because I've seen there's going to be traffic on the A406 and I'm like, no.
No, even
I heard that.
even not yesterday, the week before, 'cause there was loads of, like, there was a half marathon in Hackney, and I remember, like, my friend was like, I'm turning around, man. I can already see I'm gonna get to church at the end. I'll see you guys next week. So I don't even know if that's music school. If you know you're gonna get to church at a certain
I
time,
think that's a fair
When they say
reason.
amen, then
Yeah, I think that's a fair
not
reason.
even amen. They're packing the chairs away. They're packing the chairs away. So no, that's so funny.
That's a fair reason.
No, I think that's a valid reason. And of course, it's a heart thing, isn't it? Like, you know in your heart, you're just making excuses.
What Louis said was, I know there's going to be traffic. I'm going to be late. Because you know some people actually just hate traffic. So it's not even, it's not necessarily a matter of timing. It's more like just to be sitting there like an egg. It's so frustrating.
And then you know it's like
so
10:45.
funny.
Okay, church is starting.
And our church is efficient.
As in, efficient as in it starts on time.
As in, I was on Welcome. It's funny because I was on Welcome last Sunday. I was at church, and I was at the gate where people come in, and it was like 10:30. We start at 10:45. It was 10:30, and I'd let so many people in that had no idea that church was even close to starting yet. As in, these people are on time, not like on time as in they get there 10:45. They're on time, like they're 10:30. They're sitting, they're having coffee, ready to sit down. Church is full by 10:46. 10:46. Church, like, well, church is full. Am I lying? Like, 10:46. The church is full. Like, you're fine. So that's efficiency. So and it's a short service as well. So if you are late,
You're late.
And we start regardardless of how many people are sitting down. We 10:45 bang.
And most people are sitting down anyway. So,
Do you guys serve coffee and pastry before service?
Serve.
I
went to a church that did, to be fair. Yeah, we do coffee, not pastry, but coffee.
I always think serving something beforehand
Encourages people
to be like, because every church I've been to where, like, I went to a church the week before last, and they had an array. They had coffee, they had teas. I saw grapes and bread baskets. I said, okay. And I think it generally was a charcuterie board. I said, I even got distracted off of
what?
How do you say it?
No, I don't know what that is. I'm not.
You know when you see, what is this, cracker?
Oh, like a cheese board.
Cheese,
but
it's
usually
also
have
got like some
cured meat. Usually like type of.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I didn't know that was called
the boards, but I don't like cured meat.
Oh, sorry, my sis. But it was quite a lot of people. I was even late that day, but I could tell that if you're serving that beforehand.
Now we serve coffee, but not like we do like the cakes and stuff after church.
It's such a beautiful part of a welcoming culture as well.
Yeah.
That having something beforehand.
It's actually the only time I drink coffee, like, at church.
Oh wow! Yeah. Even now, since you become a father.
Boy, I'm gonna start.
From henceforth, as of tomorrow.
If I wasn't drinking coffee before, I'm definitely gonna start. Boy.
Question: who are you guys voting for in the elections?
Boris Johnson.
Okay, I don't want to hear that.
Are you guys
No
actually?
comment.
So
maybe I should take that back. Are you guys planning to vote? Because not many. I know some people who are not planning.
Is Boris Johnson on the ballot?
Boris Johnson is.
I don't want to hear this.
Boris Johnson is not.
If he's not on the ballot, I'm not voting.
I feel like Boris Johnson is not even an MP. Am I crazy? Is he still an MP?
He's MP,
I don't think he's an MP.
I don't think he's no longer an MP.
Nah.
That's a shame.
He's around.
That's
Like,
a shame.
He's very
You're
much
crazy.
around.
Can you
You're
stop
actually
this?
crazy. But yeah, are you guys
I'm actually
planning?
joking.
Are you guys planning to vote?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, I'll vote. I mean, I voted UKIP last time, and
Oh wow, even
No,
the
I'm
shit.
joking,
Oh,
I'm joking.
That's so seriously as well.
no. Yeah, I saw Zoe's face. I was like,
because
Yeah.
the 22nd of May, our Prime Minister, shout out Rishi Sunak, he announced kind of like a shock election. And did you know, fun fact, that so the vote is going to be on the 4th of July, and it's the first July general election since the 40s. Did you know that, guys?
Oh, I didn't care about it. Yeah.
Look at us, look at us educating our listeners.
Thanks for
it's
sharing.
interesting.
Putting them on.
So interesting.
But yeah, for a lot of people, it was generally very surprising. I think some people are thinking he did it for kind of how the economy is looking at the moment versus how it's going to look in a couple of months' time. But yeah, guys, how are you guys feeling about the general elections? Like, how do you think we should be thinking through it? Are you still... Zoe's looking at me because she's like, I have nothing to say. Yeah, a lot of people feel like it should be it should be more than a two-party vote, which it always kind of, unfortunately, is always. But yeah, how are you guys like gearing up for the elections? Have you even are you registered already?
Yeah, do you know what's funny? I voted as far back as I can remember. I may have missed one in the past, but I'm usually quite interested.
Beautiful
Like,
citizen.
I was just saying, that's what I was thinking. What a good citizen.
What a good man.
We've already said I'm a good Christian. I'm
Yeah, you made it already,
Yeah.
man.
What's that?
Saved by work.
What's that? Where's systematic?
Systematic theology talks
Is it
about
right?
voting and
Is it in
Yeah,
your
Saved by
pocket?
work.
it's there.
Oh,
It's in the car. But I do try and make a point of looking and taking an interest in what the parties are kind of, because I think it's very easy to just say, everyone's rubbish. No one sticks to their pledges anyway. What's the point? But I think even as mad as it sounds, even since having a son, I'm more thinking about the future. So for example, I don't know if anyone saw yesterday, Rishi's put out this thing to say that, if you vote for us, then 18-year-olds have to go into national service.
I heard about that. Is that true?
Mandatory national service. Yeah. Apparently it's
Like we're in Nigeria.
Yep.
similar, but apparently Sweden and a few other European countries
Yeah.
implemented it.
It's quite common.
Different places do it,
Yeah. So when I hear 18-year-olds, I'm thinking, my son's going to be 18 one day. Like,
Amen.
And so I've got, God willing. So I've got to think about those things. But I think naturally, I'm always okay. Cool. What do each party think about? I don't know, foreign policy. What do they think about? How they plan to handle the economy, obviously jobs. Now I'm thinking about things like nursery hours. Now, Conservatives have free nursery hours.
Yeah.
What if, I don't know, Labour take over and say, listen, we need to cut back on that. We need to use that money for the NHS. I don't know. But I do try and take up an interest, not because I'm hanging on to the promises of any party, but because I'm just thinking, okay, cool. What are the plans, future plans for this country? I live here. And I think biblically as well, not that it's explicitly stated, but I do think there is a mandate to, like, if we have a chance to vote, personally, I think you should vote. And it is very, like, personally, I don't have an allegiance to any party. Like, growing up, my mum was Labour. I'm pretty sure most of our parents were Labour. But now, I'd rather not say what I think of the current party. But I think it's fair and right for me to, like, vote either way, so that a few years from now, I'm not just complaining about the state of the country, but then I had a chance to at least, like, and the thing is, my vote may not count in terms of whoever I vote for, that party may not win, but we don't know in the future what it'll mean in terms of seats in terms of things like that. So yeah, personally, I do take an interest, but it's not like because I really support Rishi Sunak or because I really think Keir Starmer is the man to solve all of our problems. It's more so, okay, cool, I live in this country. Like, you see what I mean? So yeah.
And I think it's the first vote since Brexit. And I feel like it's been a long time. It's very much a long time. Like, I mean, we're 4 or 5 years older, maybe post-COVID.
Yeah.
You know, like wars have happened.
Yeah.
World leaders have changed. So I think it feels like a very defining vote.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, and of course, from all the things that happened, whether you're happy with this current government or not, like everyone just feels like, guys, you got to get out there and vote. But yeah, how are you guys like feeling about the upcoming general elections? And it's nothing wrong with saying I haven't been reading too much into it. I'm just gonna turn up and vote. Because for me,
you guys, but I already established.
because for me, I'm from East London. Labour wins every time. Yeah. So of course, if I go there and I put Conservative,
They're gonna look at you sideways.
Pardon?
They're gonna look at you sideways.
No, not even that. Like, even if I'm not, I might not even be Conservative, but Labour's gonna win anyway.
Oh yeah. That's right.
So a lot of the times, I'm just going there and just being like, well, if I'm doing Labour, sometimes I even do Christian Party for vibes. Just why not? Go for it. Like, UK, why not? You know, Lib Dem, let's just go for it.
Green party.
Green Party, just throw them all in. But I already know Labour's gonna win. Like, I already know that from my local constituency, which is fine. But I think, and at times I was always looking at the local level of, forget Rishi, forget Keir. Like, what are the policies and who are the MPs in my local area and what are the changes they want to make or what are the things they believe, X, Y, Z. And at times I haven't been looking at the big. So yesterday I was reading about, I think Labour plan to ban smartphones for under 16s or something along those lines. And I was thinking, oh, interesting. And then I started looking at like their broader. And of course, everyone is just selling you dreams. We're going to do this. We're going to do that.
Yep.
Free food. You're going to have no taxes. Everyone is just selling you anything.
Food.
Free food. It's good. Like, whatever you want to hear. But I think you do need to be informed. I think ignorance is just never a good thing. You need to be informed. However invested you are depends on your time and your desire, really. But I think you generally need to be informed.
Do you know what's so funny, yeah? Sorry I know you guys don't have too much to say at the moment, but I remember when we had the whole Brexit vote, and I could say I voted Remain, right? So I remember voting Remain and being like, "Yep, nice and easy." Like, there's no way this country is like going to vote for Brexit. I remember going to bed that night and hearing that Remain were like up 51-49. I thought, yeah, this is fine. And waking up the following morning and seeing that somehow we'd all voted out. And I remember saying to myself, I'm never voting for ever again in this country. But I just felt like
Violation.
I just felt some kind of betrayal. Yeah, I can't explain it, but I felt some kind of betrayal. But also, just going back to this vote, this feels, similar to what you were saying, Mary, this feels significant. And I think the reason being, if you look at Labour, sorry, a bit of a, Labour are talking like, listen, you don't want to leave the country in the hands of Conservatives, look what they've done all these years, blah, 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 blah. And Conservatives are talking about security and future, and you want a secure future. And right now, times are uncertain. And the last thing we want is for a new party to take over and for there to be uncertainty. So I just find it interesting that both parties are talking about like security, certainty, that kind of thing. So yeah, no, that's what I was going to say, really.
What I was going to say is that I think something I find very difficult about voting is, number one, even though it is, first of all, the reality that it's basically between two parties. Secondly, the humans, the people representing those parties, or at least you will always feel in some sense that you're voting for this person or this person, even if you know that it's more of a party thing and people can be moved, etc. And then thirdly, I think there's such a sense of like, whoever you vote for, there are national interests that are just intrinsic to the country. So it doesn't matter. It can sometimes feel like it doesn't matter who you vote for because they will always be in favour of X. As a country, for example, like being in favour of Israel. That is a UK. That is in the interest of the United Kingdom.
It's a Western thing.
Western thing. So it's always like, and especially when there's an issue now, and there's this, it's so frustrating to feel like we've got a choice, but no matter where you go, you can't vote for. It's like you can't actually choose. There's such a limitation on what you can choose, and the more you become aware of what's going on, the more it's like it doesn't matter. You feel very like hopeless, or powerless. Like it doesn't matter if I go X or Y. Everyone's still going to be in the interest of Israel, for example. So it's kind of like, and then because it's such a prominent thing, it almost feels like the vote can feel like an insult, even though it's a good thing to vote and it needs to happen and it should have happened years ago, etc. It's just like, yeah, maybe there's so much, I don't know, just when it comes to such like life and death matters, it's kind of like, that's the thing that we're powerless over. But the more day-to-day things about the direction of the country and the economy, of course they are massively impactful, but it almost feels like there's such an urgent kind of crisis that it's like, it just feels something feels very, I don't know how to pinpoint it, something feels very gaslighty about the option to vote. So I think that's how I feel. Even though I'm gonna vote, I believe it's better to vote than not to vote. But the frustration is like over here. Yeah,
do you know what's crazy though? I think, I 100% agree with you. And there is a large part of me that feels that even going to vote on the 4th of July, I'll be honest, I don't know where I'm voting at the moment. It probably won't be the current party, but I don't know where I'm going. But I think it's good to think, even from a Christian perspective, that whoever is in power, regardless of my vote, God put them there in the first place. And to think from an idea that, God has complete sovereignty over who is in power, and what their policies are and what they choose to do. And to think that, so for example, in the Psalms, it talks about the idea of the heart of kings is like a stream in God's hand. Like God is in complete control. So I think you should go and vote, but vote with that in mind as well. And I'm speaking to myself here because there's a part of me that's like, the country's going to vote for whatever they want to vote for. Like my vote is my vote, and it's not going to change the course of history. Well, personally, the Brexit vote did that. You know, a lot of us went to bed thinking, "Oh, okay, it's going to be normal," and then woke up the next morning and it changed. Yeah, so I think it's just good to have that in mind that God is in complete control, regardless of who's in power. Because yeah, man, we need that. Like without that kind of knowledge, you're going to be voting with a sense of fear.
Yeah, and trepidation.
How would you guys respond to someone who might see that same truth but the opposite way around, so or have a different application? So because God is completely sovereign and everything's going to happen anyway, and not just in a fatalistic sense, like the world is going to happen anyway, but more like God's will is going to prevail anyway. What's the point of voting? Like if someone perceives that same truth to be like there's no point in voting, what are you guys' thoughts
Well, I guess
on that?
I guess speaking of someone that doesn't really vote, so yeah, obviously I haven't said my standpoint on it. Yeah, so even though all three of you make very, very good cases, and I've heard like so many great cases for voting, and like nothing anyone said is wrong, but I'm just not someone that it sounds. I don't think it is that I don't care, right? It's not that I don't care, but I do. I probably do fall into that little trap of like, is my vote going to make a difference? And like what? Yeah, I do. I fall into that. What's the point? And when I was voting more regularly, because I voted Brexit, I voted to remain. That's probably the last. Yeah, that's the last vote I did. But even before that, I'd missed like votes, like general election votes and stuff like that. I guess I don't want to ever feel like I'm doing it because I'm supposed to be doing it. I just don't. And that doesn't motivate me. So like I hear it all the time, right? Like, oh, if you don't vote, you can't. How can you complain about what's going on? Or it's your duty to vote. Or even some of the arguments that you guys all made, like, how can you hear all these arguments and not vote? I hear that, but I want to be convinced. Like, I don't want to just do it because I'm supposed. And I've done that. I've voted when I'm like, oh yeah, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to vote.
Yeah, I've done that.
We're supposed to vote Labour, and like, if I don't, the person's gonna ask me next to me like, oh, did you vote? And then if I didn't, I'm gonna feel guilty because I didn't vote. I don't want to do that anymore. So I'm way more at peace at my decision to not vote than I have been. But that's not to say you guys haven't. Like, Louis made a great case. Like that isn't to say these cases aren't valid. And hopefully one day, I will feel more of a conviction to get out and actually do it and like do my research and find out more. But I'm just not there yet. I'm not gonna lie. Like, even after hearing all of this, I'm not like moved to be like, okay, 4th of July, I'm definitely gonna vote.
Is there like a element of lack of trust tied into that as well?
Yeah, I think there's loads of things. I think there's so many things, man. Yeah, I think there's lack of trust. I don't think my vote's gonna make a difference. I don't believe in any. I don't believe in any of these parties, or in any of these people as well. And sometimes it's just laziness. Sometimes it's not even laziness to go out and vote, but laziness to find out the information, all the information that you found out about the parties, even what Mary was saying as well. Sometimes I can't be bothered. Sometimes I just feel like, what's the point? Like, it's going to happen anyway, and I just have to deal with it. Whether it's Conservative in power or Labour in power, I'm going to have to deal with it regardless and let it come. And I don't think that's the right attitude to have, but it's just the attitude I have. And I don't want to be disingenuous and say anything else or turn up to my ballot and vote when I know that I'm just voting because
you still feel disingenuous.
I'm supposed to, as opposed to because so hopefully that's not my attitude forever. And that's not to say that I might not vote. Even though I don't feel fully convicted. I'm not saying I'm never going to vote again. No, not at all. But yeah, I need to be convinced. Yeah,
I think it's interesting. Sorry, no, go Zoe.
I was just going to say, I think there's maybe a question that we've not answered, and maybe directly, but I think there's an assumption that Christians should vote, and so. But I don't actually know if that's correct. So we haven't spoken about that.
I think you can make an argument to say they should.
What would that be? Christians, obviously, in a democratic context, in the context that we're in, should vote, because it sounds like part of what you're saying is that you can see all the reasons why you don't, but you kind of said something like, maybe one day I would be able to be convinced to, which to me is like there's an assumption that should be that the correct result.
Is
would
to end
be
up voting.
Yeah, but I don't know if we've Why am I like?
Why is that the end result? Like,
why is that a
the-
should?
I heard that.
If I'm assuming that's our starting point, but actually,
I guess I'll flip it
that
by
all
asking a
why?
different question. If you felt like your vote would potentially change things, would you vote?
Possibly, yeah. I'll if I had that feeling in my heart, I would be more convinced to, yeah. But then, who am I voting for? What change? Like, what is it? Well, who is going to make that change? What change is it that I'm going to be satisfied with or happy with?
Yeah, and that's a question where most of us are asking ourselves now. Even like,
And I think it's interesting because I think because of how partisan it is in terms of like the two parties. I think historically when we were younger, like our parents' generation, we knew who we were voting for. We're voting for that Tony Blair. We're voting for Labour. You know, we're voting for
That
Gordon
Tony
Brown.
Blair.
What? New Labour? That's my guy, man. I still remember A-level politics. Anyway, whereas now, if we don't fit in any of those boxes, which a lot of Black Britons don't, then you're just like, who do I vote for? And then you couple that with a lack of trust. You couple that with just, I don't know, police brutality, racism, some of the things you faced. You feel like there's no point voting. I think all I will say to that is I think voting is a privilege you're given, that you've been given as a citizen in the UK. Of course, we're just looking at the fact that in the Bible talks about us submitting to government. But I also think voting should be informed. Like every time I think of voting, even at like a church member level where we have to vote for something, however serious or like however easy or simple it is, it has to be an informed decision. I don't want to vote on something if I don't know what it is about. And maybe that is a point to be like, let me be informed, or if I'm not ready to be informed, let me just stay out. And I think that's fine to do.
I feel like, even though I had nothing to say, I feel like I'm in the middle, or like I think the logical end of how I feel or what I think would mean that I don't vote. So everything you said, I feel the exact same way, but I actually feel an obligation to vote. But it's not because, so I think there is a sense where I feel like I can't vote if I don't know, like if it's ignorance. So, but I feel a burden to have to know because I have to vote. But I still have zero confidence in this vote going anywhere. So I go into that place thinking this is pointless. I don't even want my vote. Like as in like the person I'm voting for, or the party I'm voting for, I don't even want it. Maybe it's the lesser of two evils, but I don't believe this is meaningful, sadly. But so I think the logical end of that would be like, therefore I don't vote, which is why I completely hear what you're saying, and I'm a bit perplexed in my own mind as to why I feel an obligation to vote.
Do you think, question actually to myself or people like me that might have some like hesitancy when it comes to voting, and similarly to Zoe, do you think like if there were like overt policies, because there's loads of policies that we agree with, disagree with, don't like, not a fan of, blah blah blah, but I wouldn't say them, obviously they're very very important policies, but they're not keeping me up at night, right? But if there were policies that were like just overtly like, so let's say conservatives came up with a policy where, let me think of something extreme, like
something good, you mean?
Churches
I
should
was gonna say bad.
Churches should close.
Churches should close. Yeah, churches should close. Or we can't have church on Sunday or something. Would it have to be something like that for people to be like, oh, actually, I need to vote to stop that. Despite whether I'm for Labour or not, I need to. I'm thinking to myself, like, is that something that would draw me to something like that, or something similar in that sense? Probably, yeah. That would be something. So like, it would have to be a policy. No, I don't think that's true in the mark, because I couldn't even see myself voting on the 4th of July. Like if I could be bothered, but if I was completely anti, as a Christian especially, and a policy just came out that I was like, no, I'd probably have to. I'd have to go out and vote just because I was. But I guess the argument is it shouldn't take something like that to want to do
I
that.
get
But
But that's understandable.
Did you guys vote in your London for the London MP?
Don't live in London no more.
That was my
bad.
I'm under
I
Essex
really,
now.
I don't know where my head was, but I remember the day after being like,
But you know what it is? It's so interesting because I was talking to someone because the results had come out, and they were like, "Oh, like when was the vote?" And I was like, "Yesterday." And I was like, how did you not know?
The judgment chair.
Where was this one? Seriously.
No judgment. It was, I think it might have been the first or second Thursday in April.
It was the first.
Oh, a couple weeks ago.
It was the first Thursday in May.
First Thursday in May.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah, generally a couple of weeks ago.
I had a baby.
That's actually kind of a valid reason, to be fair. But I don't know if it's because.
Like, what?
Like, I don't know if it's because we've become like apolitical, where we just don't. You generally don't care. Like,
That's
they
what I
can
was
be
gonna
doing.
say.
They can be doing whatever they're doing.
Just
on top.
abstract and disconnected.
I'm gonna go to work. I'm gonna go to church. I'm gonna love my community, and I'm gonna keep it pushing. Like,
Yeah.
whatever you man are doing in the top, that's above me now.
I think
Yeah.
that comes out of powerlessness, though.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think that approach comes out of a sense that the reason why it's just like just whatever is because it's like there's no point.
But if we believe that God is using the means of kings or politicians, as He's done throughout time, then we should trust and believe in those means. When I mean trust, I don't mean trust the men, but trust the positions, knowing that God is working through them.
But going back to Zoe's point, well, God has ordained them anyway.
Yeah,
so why
so
does
someone
my
could-
vote? Why does my vote? even matter?
So I
No, because your vote is He's tied His
Your-
ordaining to your means of
Yeah.
voting them.
my
Yeah.
one,
Yes.
my one specifically.
see, I
Yeah,
think
it's almost like
that's-
saying God has ordained go future. I shouldn't pray.
Yeah, I was literally just about to say
But
that.
I
Yeah.
think
Pray.
I think the difference is that. So I hear, I when I meditate on God's sovereignty, particularly in this area, I'm more inclined not to vote. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, what's the point? It just it leads into what's the point of me voting? I get the point.
I see how you can go both ways.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
should.
I get it, but the actual result is me being like, but I don't feel like that about prayer. In fact, I'll be like, let me pray. But voting, do you know what it is?
But I think there's so many other things attached to voting as well. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
that's the
something
thing.
about the method. I think there's something about the method of voting that I can't detach it. I don't know how to explain it. I've never thought about it this intensely either. I've experienced, but I don't think about it. But there's something about the method of voting that that can, not in every context, feel very false. So it's also like, if you believe that your vote does not count, it does not count. It genuinely will make no difference. Then it's hard to be like, this is a means that God will use. Whereas I don't feel like that about prayer.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to put prayer and voting together.
No, but I get
they're not
the
necessarily the
concept
same
of
thing.
basically
There's parallels
if God
there.
controls everything, not if, since God
It's about
is
sovereignty.
totally sovereign,
That's what it's
what's the point of engaging with the means by which His sovereignty, His will is
Executed.
Yeah.
executed?
I think it's also
Let
good
me
to think
use.
from a,
Clever.
but also to think from a, and again, this is not to say because I have this privilege I should do it. Well, maybe it is partly, but we live in a relatively kind of democratic country in terms of like us even having the right to vote in the first place. Whereas if you look at some countries where it's total dictatorship, where they can't even speak out against leadership. I think it's just good to remember. Okay, the fact that we get to vote is, like you said, at the
I've
beginning,
heard that argument.
it's a
lot.
privilege.
I've heard that argument a lot. I don't know if that argument itself doesn't sway me.
It may- that's what I- no,
just
no,
because
I'm saying.
we have privilege to do loads of things,
Yeah.
which is great. But that doesn't mean we have to act on every single privilege we have. It still has to mean something.
But yeah,
I think that's what makes me feel like that privilege makes me feel like I have to vote. Which I guess that's the difference.
could- yeah, it could make you feel
I
that way.
actually feel compelled. I feel like people, especially as a woman, I'm like, people died, so I can be here. So I can be here to vote. But it's so frustrating feeling like I have to do it because this is a privilege, but it doesn't feel like a privilege. It actually feels like a powerless option that I have to engage in because someone died for it. I think that's how I engage with it in my mind.
And I think there's
but I
also-
do feel compelled.
There's also another consideration which I think is worth of the matter of conscience as well. So that if as a Christian you've actually looked at the policies, and there's certain policies on both or even on multiple parties that just do not sit right with you.
Yeah,
There's
that's the point I
certain
was trying to
things-
make.
There's
Yeah,
certain
yeah.
things that they're going for, whether it's
Yeah.
like their strictness on immigration or whether it's austerity measures or whatever it is, and you generally are
Yeah.
convinced in your heart and your mind that I can't vote for this party, I can't vote for this party.
Yeah.
Then
Or I need to
don't-
vote against this party.
don't
specifically.
vote.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
I think
different.
Yeah,
to go
that's-
against
yeah.
conscience is never right nor safe.
Yeah.
So you don't vote. So I think that there's an aspect in which, as much as we do have privileges to vote, as much as I'm kind of with Lewin saying you should vote, when you can, of course, if there's general conscience sake, that mean you can't vote because there's just certain things you're not happy or content with, then please don't.
And a lot of people might have that because it may not even be from a kind of manifesto point of view. It might just be pure morals. And the way that, I don't know, the current government have acted over the last 8-9 years, things that's happened with COVID, just genuine like public decency and things like that. So some people might just say, okay, fair enough, this is what they're pledging to do over the next few years. God knows if they'll even fulfill those pledges. But how these guys are in general, how they've carried themselves, I can't align myself with that. And again, that ties into the idea of, I look at these parties and I just can't. If I'm being completely honest, the reason why I said I'm not tied to any party other way is because like there's a part of me that just doesn't trust any party. Like I don't trust any party based on the last 8-9 years, what's happened recently. I don't trust putting my pen on the ballot for Conservatives again. But then, like sometimes it's better. Some people say better the devil you know, or some people say
I don't want to know any devil thing.
Yeah, we don't know any devil. Yeah, that's what people say. But anyway, that's not what I'm saying.
That's what they say.
Yeah, that's what they say. That's what they say. It's actually a British saying, apparently. I think, but
unsurprising.
I feel like. Oh, sorry. No.
No. I was just gonna say that. Yeah. So me coming to the conclusion that I should vote is me wrestling with. That's why I mentioned what I've been through the past with Brexit and just feeling like I remember. Did you say this is the first vote since Brexit? I think there might have been one after that.
Seriously?
Oh no, since the Brexit vote.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I remember going to vote, and there was this massive thing about. I think this was a general election which Conservatives won by like a landslide. I remember going to vote and thinking, what if my vote is rigged? Like, what if I put something on the pen and it's rigged in the background? There was a huge thing about that. So all that to say, I come to my conclusions having wrestled with the idea that I still probably have that my vote doesn't count, but feeling like it's only right that I go and at least scope out what the parties are saying, scope out what I think the current government have done over the last however many years and make my choice. See what I mean? So, sorry Zoe, go for it.
No, I was just going to say, I appreciate your point about conscience, because I think sometimes maybe that's where I can get stuck, whereby I'm like, but no, I think right now in this climate, and for me particularly what's happening with in Palestine, I feel like I can't, what's the word? What was that conscious thing that you said? I don't have a free conscience in one sense to vote for anything. So in one sense, that should take me to being like, well, I can't, that's it. I can't in good conscience vote for either party. But that still doesn't feel like that protest doesn't feel like anything. Because me not voting is not going to change it anyway. You know what I mean? So I think...
Zoe said, in conclusion.
Yeah, so it's like, that's what's difficult about voting and not voting. Your non-vote doesn't have the... If you're non-voting, if you avoid voting as a protest...
It doesn't help anyone.
It doesn't help.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a thing, which is where prayer... That one, when it comes to... Whenever I remember that, you know what, I can actually pray, that's when I can go to sleep. Because these options presented, it's the means of it feel really tricky to me. But actually knowing that I can pray, and I really believe that God hears my prayers. I just pray for his will to be done. But it's like, it takes me a long time to remember that that is something I can freely engage in from, like, without any, I'm free like a bird, do you know what I mean? That when I remember that, that's when I'm like, it's not all is whatever. Yeah.
I was just about to ask that, actually, like what you guys would say to someone who's actually worried about the upcoming elections, like future of this country and stuff like that. And I guess that kind of speaks to it a little bit. Yes, it's the ghetto.
How long are we recording for? This is not supposed to be a general election.
That's so funny. We had like the things to speak at today, and we had this as one minor point.
This is supposed to be a brief
topic, but you can see why it's actually quite a.
It's quite deep.
It's quite deep.
Oh, so how long have we been recording for? Can we check to see?
She said I was asking literally
45 minutes. Okay, that's cool. Okay, we can quickly cover a question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you dropped a question in the group about what is the hardest thing about being a Christian in this day and age.
So this was actually...
Is it Ask BB question?
Yeah, it was
Ask okay.
Yeah. What about Zoe?
Look at us giving us bonus Ask BB questions.
What a great question, by the way.
Good question.
Oh, I thought you said you have a quick question.
No, that was a great question.
That's a great
Okay. What do you guys think? What do you think is the
thing about being a Christian?
hardest thing about
hardest
being a
in this day and age
in this
as well.
day and age? But that's maybe just now, or for you, or like...
The hardest thing about being a Christian is being a Christian. Sometimes.
I heard that.
What do you mean?
Sometimes it feels like that. I think I can look.
Trust and obey, man.
What do you mean?
What do I mean by that?
Yeah. Sorry. It's as if. Can you guys hear something?
Oh yeah.
No, don't worry.
Sorry, no worries.
So what do I mean by that? Because when I read the question, that was the first thing that came to mind. Well, a couple of things came to mind, but that was like the first thing. Just living Christ-like and living out like how we're supposed to can be just difficult, especially with so many conflict, especially in the West where there's so many conflicting worldviews and conflicting ideologies and conflicting, just everything's just conflicting with how we're supposed to live. And it's just difficult sometimes. And it's only by Christ that I continue to do so. And that it's just difficult. Yeah, like even just being in certain spaces, like even at work, like the other day, which was I thank God for. I was chatting to one of the teachers, and she was talking. She was telling me about my birth story, like how it was, like the birth was, stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, it was tough, blah 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 blah. Kind of briefly went through whatever.
Sorry.
And she was like, oh, so how did you feel? Were you scared? Were you blah blah blah? Da, 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 da. I was like, yeah, a little bit, but also like I just tried to be at peace. I tried to like be quite positive in general. And she was like, oh, how do you do that? Like, how do you stay positive? Blah blah blah. And it took me quite a while to just be like, oh, like I should just say, oh, it's because I'm a Christian and this is what I believe in. Blah blah blah. It took me a while, and I was like, I think I skirted over it a couple of times. And then eventually I was like, oh yeah, also I'm a Christian, and like a lot of that, you know, influences how I see the world and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, that's amazing. And she was like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian too, blah, 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 blah. And then we got to chat and stuff like that. And it just made me, and the fact that it took me that long to just say that, like, just made me think like, oh, like, why do I struggle to just be like who I'm supposed to be? Like, or just be open about like why I am the way I am. And I'm not sure. I think there's right a reason. Yeah, it could be just fear of like, questioning, or fear of like that's the one. That's the word. Ostracization, or So I don't know if that's the most difficult thing about being a Christian, but it's definitely one of the things. Just living out this Christian walk is like what's the difficult thing. There's other stuff, but I think that's definitely one of them. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I feel like it's a hard question to answer because it's the combination of a lot of difficult things making it one big difficult thing. So yeah, similar to you, I think it's hard to evangelize, or maybe I'm just not bold enough. But yeah, it's not hard. It's hard to evangelize and just live as a Christian in the workplace.
Yeah.
But also, I think there's so many things, just like you said about the West, just vying for our attention, like social media, like all sorts. Like last week, I deactivated Instagram because I was like, let me deactivate for a while. Because if I just delete that app, I'm going to be back on it by the evening. So let me deactivate for a while and see how I get on. Like, because I'm trying to just clear my mind a little bit, have a bit more time for reading the Bible, for prayer, and even just for catching up with people, things like that. So I think, yeah, there are many things vying for my attention at the moment. On top of day-to-day life, having to try and get your life in order. On top of like being a Christian in the workplace and just out in the world in general, and not being afraid to say I'm a Christian. You know. So yeah, I'd say those are the things that come to mind immediately. More will probably come out after. But yeah, being a Christian is hard. It's not easy. It's hard. We need grace every day.
Honestly.
Especially when you think about like just the idea of like counting the cost and enduring. I think for me, I've been thinking about that a lot, about like enduring and just how difficult that is day to day. I was even reading an article the other day around like the greatest foe to spiritual growth, and I think they spoke about complacency and the idea of you become content with what you're doing now and what you've achieved in relation to your walk. So you kind of get into your routine and you kind of stop seeking God or stop making sacrifices or doing more to know Him more, and then you kind of stop growing. And I'm thinking, I was like, am I in that place? Like, have I just got, I'm happy with where I am now. I've been a Christian for a number of years. It's my lifestyle now. I know my Christian friends and church and XYZ. And it's like, are you growing? Like, are you actually growing? And I think it's very easy for me anyway, to just fall in line with how you should do Christian life, but you're not living Christian. Like you're part of the squad, but you're not loving God more. You're not growing in grace. You're not like loving Jesus more. And I think a challenge for me, because you could do that for years and then you're just a nominal Christian. You just tick the box, but you're not necessarily like on fire for God. So that, I think that for me is like the hardest, like just enduring, like knowing, okay, I've been Christian for 10 years, but there's, Lord willing, like decades left to go. And Israel used to say this thing about, I thought he took it from somewhere, but the how do you know a marriage was successful? The end. Like you don't think a marriage is successful today. It's did they last? Like did they last to the end? And I think for me at times I'm thinking, a good marker of whether I was faithful to the Lord and how He kept me is if I persevere really. So
I hear that. I feel like that point particularly in that sense of like I know how to, like I know where I stand in things. I know what I believe about this. I just get the Christian life of that sense, and it's like, this is just how you want to continue. But it's like, am I actually growing? And fear of like becoming nominal, or realizing that you are. I think that can be harder if you go to a church that's really that teaches the Bible really clearly, or is seen as sound, quote unquote, or which might be associated with being reformed or whatever else. I feel like it can sometimes be a temptation to think, because the word is so clear and because I can explain the gospel really clearly and I can discern this and that, or I know that this is right and this is wrong, and it can feel really hard to know what a nominal reformed Christian might be, or what a nominal in a sound place. I hate that stupid word, but it's used. I don't hate the word actually. I just hate sound teaching. I hate how it's used. I think it's used in a pejorative way.
Oh, okay.
What way? Sorry, some people didn't go to school.
So I think it can be used as an insult, not soundness, but sometimes people are like, is it sound? Is more of a way of it's. Yeah, it can be used as a way to insult people. But I think it's...
Sorry, what's the word you used?
I can't lie. I was going to ask for
Pejorative.
Pejorative. Is that even the right English?
I've never heard that word in my life.
Pejorative.
Okay.
Wow, yeah, that's new.
New words for the vocab, boy.
So word of the week is blackberries and pejorative.
Pejorative.
That's the title. Pejorative blackberries. But yeah. Yeah, so I was just hearing that point because I think my view of a nominal Christianity looks a very particular way. It looks like maybe more the way I've heard about it more is like maybe this picture of like people crying in worship and like raising their hands in worship, but then during the week nothing to do with God, but they kind of know Christianese, and that might not apply in my life or my world or my setting, but I think that's also meant that I'm maybe not trained to see what it would look like in my setting. Yeah. Does that make sense from that point? Like,
I think you guys are right. It's such a huge danger, especially especially if you're someone like myself who went from somewhere where maybe the teaching wasn't a sound and yearning for like sound teaching and to hear the Bible being taught clearly and to want to learn how to read the Bible, etc. every day, to then getting that every week. And I think you made a point, I think the very first episode of the season, where you were like, it's very easy to live off like early knowledge, things that you've known, and get to a point where it's just like, okay, cool, I know all this stuff, I don't have the same desire and fire for like more. So I think, that's definitely a danger for me personally as well. Like, I mean, there was a period last year, I had a conversation with a friend and I just said to him, do you know what? I feel a little bit cold. Like, I feel like I'm just not on it anymore. Like, if I do pray, it feels very, very routine. It doesn't feel like I'm really genuinely praying, knowing that God is listening to me. And when I do read, it feels, again, very routine. Like, I'm not reading feeling like that is God that's speaking to me. And then we had a conversation about it and I was just like, I think I need to just go back to basics, like set some time aside and genuinely just remember what it is I wanted when I first became a Christian. And I've been a Christian 10 years now. So like, let's say the first 3 or 4 years, like in general, that knowledge and that yearning and that wanting to know God more and that kind of thing. And I think when your life flips around, so for example, obviously now I'm married with a child, now there's other things taking up my attention. You have to work even harder to find that time to read, to pray, to fellowship, to catch up with people, etc. To prepare yourself for church and things like that. So those are always like, I'm grateful to God because I think for the Christian, you're gonna have ebbs and flows like in the Christian life. So you shouldn't like necessarily beat yourself up, but you should also be grateful that God is a God who always says that He's gonna keep you regardless, and that He's always gonna find ways to kind of pull you back. Like whether it's through a conversation with a friend, whether it's I read that verse in the scriptures one day and I was really like lit on fire again. Like He's always gonna continue and continue.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that, because I think I went through a period last year where I was like, wow, like I needed to hear that all over again. And thank God, I feel a lot better now from a spiritual point of view. But it's
Do you think like sometimes, because I was even just listening to like all you guys talk about church and like sound teaching, and it's almost sometimes you get to the point of like, oh, we know this person is a good Christian because of their ability to understand the Bible, explain the gospel, even evangelize and do all these things. And that's kind of and if we reach that point, it's like, we can get comfortable in that. I don't know how much we spend like looking at like, or even looking within ourselves in terms of, okay, how's our Christian walk going? What I've heard in the past is, oh, I haven't really been praying that much, or I haven't gone to church, or I haven't read my Bible that much. Those are generally the barometers of the measurements. I haven't read my Bible enough, I haven't been praying a lot, or I feel a bit cold, blah blah blah. Like less so like fruits, like looking at our character, or like how patient have I been lately, or how kind have I been, or how loving have I been, like looking at the fruits of the Spirit, and like what being transformed by being saved has done for us personally, and looking at that as a barometer in terms of how not a barometer of how much we're saved or anything. How much we're growing. Like, do we look at the fact that I was really rude to my colleague or something like that as actually maybe something's happening with my walk, or maybe I'm not growing in the same, like I don't know if you, like every time I hear someone say I'm struggling a little bit with my walk, it's normally like I haven't prayed.
It's the spiritual stuff, like it's the reading, the praying,
and not to those things, not to diminish those things. Obviously they're important, and actually could be a lot related as well. Like the more you're in prayer, the more that's going to affect.
That's what I was going to say. Those things to produce more.
I don't want to separate the two so much.
I completely get what you're saying.
I also think, especially coming to those things where it's like, it can, even if it's not explicit, it can be like, the barometer of being a good Christian is someone that knows their word, that prays, that reads, or knows their Bible back to front, which are all good things, obviously. But if we don't look at the other things, or what those things are supposed to produce, praying is supposed to produce all of these things. Being transformed, we're transformed, right? Those things are hard. Going back to the initial question, like continuing to be kind, continuing to be loving, continuing to be patient, continuing to be long suffering, enduring, like Mary was saying and stuff like that. Those things are difficult, and sometimes we don't, even listening to you guys speak, and I've heard it all the time. Like, I'm feeling a bit cold in my walk, and blah blah blah. And yes, those things are related, but also we should also reflect on, you could be doing all those things. You could be praying every single day, but if I can't be loving to my neighbor, then what?
But I think that's the coldness.
Clanging cymbals.
It goes hand in hand. I think personally, it goes hand in hand. So like when I talk about myself personally feeling that sense of coldness, I felt like a lack of patience. I felt all of those things as a result of that as well. But I think you're 100% correct. Yeah, you could know your Bible back to front. You could pray for 3 hours every morning and go out and treat people like all sorts.
I feel like it's so important, like that kind of measurement, or like way to reflect basically about where we are spiritually. It can be really encouraging to be like, raw, like I've actually grown in patience, or actually really that's not good, or whatever. And I think it's so, we thank God that He's given us like, this is the fruit, this is what it looks like to be growing, this is what it looks like to know me, this is what it looks like for Christ to be formed in you, to know Christ. Like we've got this, like what the Holy Spirit produces in us. And I think sometimes maybe it's literally I think our language can reveal how we think about it. Like you said, when we're talking about praying and reading the Bible, and maybe I might, even like in a small group setting, or in a, sometimes people like, we want more fellowship, we want more people to be checking us on a walk. A lot of time the question is, how's your praying, how's your reading? That might not always unlock like what would actually help that person. Whereas maybe things pertaining to character and like patience and kindness, gentleness. Like these things are like, I just wonder how different would our lives be if when we were checking on each other, or when we considered, or when we speak about our spirituality and our like growth and what's difficult, if that's what we were asking, or that's what we were reflecting on, like, okay, how are you in the area of faithfulness? Are you growing in integrity? Do you say what you mean? Do you mean what you say? And reflecting on that. And I think it's not just the self-assessment is not just to flog yourself or to be swallowed in guilt and shame, which you might be more prone to if you're quite like introspective and stuff. But I think it's to help us to grow. But also, we can really be encouraged by the work of the Holy Spirit in our life. Like he's not producing all this stuff so that we don't give him praise for it. We can actually be like, I have grown in patience. I have grown in XYZ. Yeah. And we give glory to the Holy Spirit for it.
And you can say it in a humble way. Like,
it's to the Holy Spirit. Like he's literally created patience in me. Like praise his name. So I think that is something that I'd want to, I really appreciate that point. And I think it's something that I think we could all benefit from
100%.
more.
100%.
I think you didn't answer the question.
I was about to kill me. No, I was about to say, I think for me, the thing that I've probably find the most difficult about the Christian life is like, I think I was raised in a Christian home. I knew what.
Sorry, it's because
I was going to be like, you've been saved since you're 4. No,
I met her parents.
Story.
I met your parents 2 weeks ago. And I was just like, oh, great parents.
They are.
Great Christian parents, man. I was like, no wonder you were saved when you were like 7.
I wasn't. Come on. They are very beautiful people. And they're beautiful believers. Very, very grateful and blessed. Can you stop?
Sorry.
But, what was it, Bart? You throw me off. What was I saying?
You were raised in a Christian home.
Yeah, so I think I was really aware of like even before I actually put my faith in Christ myself, I was really aware of like, okay, there's the world and then there's the church. There's the unsaved, then there's the saved. Like there was a real like, that was like injected. Like there's a world, there's a narrow path, there's a wide, like that. I hear it, or like there's things you're gonna have to sacrifice, like forsaking worldliness. Like it was just really clear that if you're gonna enter this thing, it's given you're picking sides. Do you get what I mean? That was clear. But I think what I wasn't prepared for is almost within people that are on the narrow path is how much. So sorry, I think I was maybe mentally a bit prepared for want of a better term, persecution, at least as a concept, in terms of like maybe not being cool or just basically taking L's, quote unquote. But I think when it came to, I just wasn't prepared for within Christianity or within other believers, sometimes feeling like you might be seen as doing too much, or you might have a certain conviction which other people might be like, oh, overdo, or it's like too serious. That I wasn't necessarily prepared for. And I think I've also done that to other people. So I'm not just speaking as if it's just happened to me. But I don't think I was really prepared for that. I think that's something I find difficult because I was only thinking, oh, we're all on the same, like, because side. We're not there, we're all here. But actually it's been like, oh, like, you know, and I think maybe bring it to this day and age in terms of where we are, in the West and with social media and whatnot. I think it's particularly difficult when it's like, I can find it difficult to just almost like know where other people stand. Like you feel like you're something that I think is quite black and white is like really like controversial, and I'm like, it's just, it can feel confusing. So for example, I think the Bible's clear. Something like Christians shouldn't get drunk, for example. That's something that hopefully we'd say isn't clear in the Bible. But I actually can feel anxious about saying that because people will be like, what?
You mean saying it around Christians?
Yeah. Like it's different if I'm like, yeah, it's different if it's just in the, like I'd expect maybe the world to be like, what? Like that one I was prepared for. But I think I wasn't prepared for realizing that, I don't think I have quite the language for it, but almost like I assumed it'd be a lot easier to be corrected and to correct people because we're all living up to this standard. So I thought, of course, there's some things that's like, okay, drinking, for example, like people just fall in different places on that. That's fine. But I think scripture can tell us that that's, people just have different views on it. But drunkenness is not something to have a different view on.
I guess there's loads of things.
But
There's loads of like quote unquote grey areas that there's like not infighting, but like disagreement. Like, yeah, that's just there are more serious. Oh, I don't want to say more serious, but more difficult ones. I would say that we're dealing with that. Even in Christendom, we're fighting over kind of thing. So that is quite difficult. Yeah.
I think it's the. Sorry, I was going to say. I just think there's things that I'm like, okay, I can see that's great, but there's some things I'm like, that's black and white. But I almost feel like, is it me? Like, am I like it? Almost. Yeah, I think that's something I just wasn't necessarily prepared for. I don't know if drunkenness is the best example of that, but just like I thought this was
normal.
Yeah, like I can. This the Bible says, but I almost feel like I'm doing too much, or am I being judgmental? And then on top of that, I can be judgmental. So that's something I'm already aware of myself, and something that the Lord is working or bringing out of me. So then sometimes I can't discern. Like, am I just saying that this is what the Bible says? I don't get it, or is it just like, oh, actually, this is a grey area, but I'm prone to wanting things to be black and white. So for me, that's something I find really difficult about being a believer, is relating to other believers.
Oh, wow.
I was going to ask a question that I thought might sum up what you're saying, but might be wrong. Is it more so maybe the idea of, potentially anyway, nominal Christianity just wasn't the thing that you... And I'm not saying that every believer that you may have like disagreed with on certain issues may have been nominal believers, but is it just that, for example, you thought it was black and white at the beginning and now you realise that there are a lot of people that it's a little bit more grey, or am I just going in a different direction?
I connect to something about that. Maybe is it, I don't know if it's just not nominal. I think it might be, but I think because of what I thought nominal was, or because of my picture of what's nominal, I think I need to update my sense of what nominal is now. I think that's the difficulty. So that I was also because I was, I suppose, a nominal Christian. Like I in some ways people could see from the outside and be like, okay, she's a Christian, but I wasn't actually a believer. And then I became a believer. So that was a really like before and after, like two completely different things. But inside that becoming a believer, I think, I've just been a bit like, like, I just can get confused. Like, I don't understand. Yeah, and I can't tell, is that just me? Is it? I think there's truth either ways. But anyway, that's the thing I probably find the trickiest, particularly like as I've grown older, just being like, like almost feeling like, I have to be careful with. Then it's like, but why should I have to be careful about something that's black and white in scripture?
I think that speaks to kind of the hardness of being a Christian, though. Because I think, everyone is also dealing with that same difficulty. And I think you meet people where they are.
Journey.
And sometimes that season you meet them in, they've got a very kind of incorrect view of something that's very clear. You know, it could be alcohol, it could be sexual ethics. It could be anything, really. And you hope that it's a season, isn't it? Because even things like worldliness, like a lot of what you're talking about is almost like, is there a worldliness of like the creeping in? I'm even thinking of like certain passages where Paul's like, judgment starts in the church because of just how easy it is for us to be impacted by things in the world. I don't know. Well, over time, I think so.
Wow, we
did it. Did everyone answer the question?
I think so.
Yep.
This is a very interesting podcast. We just spoke about
it is
anything and everything.
I was going to say, by the way, just very quickly going back to the whole election thing, there's a really helpful website that helps us to kind of think about the whole idea of the elections from a Christian perspective, and the website's constantly being updated along with party manifestos and stuff. So we can stick that in the show notes as well, so people can take a look.
Cool.
Do they talk about Boris Johnson?
No, they don't. Boris Johnson.
What is going on here?
This is why Femi's not voting, because Boris is not starting.
Is he your favourite Prime Minister of all time?
He's up there, top 5.
Top five. He's the top 5 most comedic.
Is he top 3 to you?
Huh?
Who's your favourite Prime Minister as the show ended?
Oh, what? Like seriously?
Yeah.
I don't have
I
one.
don't really have
I
one.
You don't have a favorite Prime Minister?
Yours is Tony Blair, isn't it?
100%.
I don't
Tony
really.
Blair and Gordon Brown. Nah, guys.
What's the one that lasted a couple of weeks? Liz Truss.
Liz Truss.
That's
You're
the
sick.
44 days.
44 days. That's elite.
That was so mean.
That's efficient.
Didn't they compare it to a cucumber or
I
lettuce?
feel sorry for her.
Yeah, they had a lettuce. So was it a lettuce that they had, and it was like the lettuce lasted longer than.
Yeah, that's so not nice.
This country, man. This country.
Oh, John Major. Sorry.
John Major.
I think my dad would say John Major.
Shout out your pops. Christian pops.
I made it through John Major. When was John Major Prime Minister?
I think it was Prime Minister just
Like
before
70s.
Tony Brown. Tony Brown? Tony Blair.
70s.
There are many John Major. John Major's Prime Minister in the 70s.
Oh, Maggie Thatcher. Maggie Thatcher. That's what I think. There you go.
Maggie Thatcher.
Anyway.
I'm gonna say that's not true.
What's
On your
not true?
behalf. Margaret Thatcher.
I'll play you that.
Compared to anyway, let me not start.
I don't have any. I don't have any.
I think we're done.
Yeah, that's it.
we
I think
did
that's it. I think that's it.